Okay. Welcome to the Silverlake Priestess Podcast. I'm Jaime Black, and tonight I'm here with Michelle Noureia. And we're going to talk about type 2 diabetes and healing yourself naturally. Michelle, thank you for joining us. Happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. Hello,
You're,
everybody.
wel- you're welcome. And yes, hi everybody who's watching. If this is your first time watching us, please go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm Jaime Black, and I host this podcast. And for the most part, I interview women that are serving their sacred purpose out in the world. And we talk about spirituality. We talk about serving our sacred purpose in the ways that we're doing that. Sometimes we talk about running our own business and having our serving our sacred purpose and having that be the way that we're showing up in business and what we've built our business around that. And so we talk about all of that here on the podcast. And so I know Michelle. We met a couple years ago and through a mutual friend of ours, and we did some teaching, putting kind of all of our skills together and teaching some events outside where we had yoga and some weightlifting and some music. And anyway, so we kind of got to know each other that way. And I've been following your work and what you're doing. And Michelle is a nurse, and she's also a bodybuilder. That's something that she's done in her life. And she's also a fitness coach. And so she works with people in their health. She works with people in building their strength and being healthy, but she's also working with people who have type 2 diabetes and focusing on how you can heal that aspect of your health naturally without having to take a bunch of drugs and chemicals and things like that. So it's really important work, and I just want to honor you for doing it. And I see what you're doing, and you're putting out so much education for people, and I think it's really important. So really wanted to have you on the show to talk about the work that you're doing.
Thank you. That's a good introduction. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. And yes, where do you want me to start? We can do.
Well, why don't we just dive right into how did you start with this? How did you start with this work? So we know that you're a nurse and you have some history with that. So how is that where it started?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been a nurse more than 12 years. I always enjoyed helping people. That's why I got into nursing. I really just wanted to serve and help people. But the reason I got into personal training is because I got to the point where I felt like as a nurse, all I was doing was just managing symptoms. I wasn't really helping patient. And I felt like as a personal trainer, because that has been always my passion to work out, stay healthy, um, eat healthy. And I felt like personal training was something that I could help somebody have a better life. But then as a nurse, it was just managing symptoms, and I would see the same patient coming over. There was no education about diet, exercise. So that's how I went from nursing to personal training. But diabetes, it was not planned at all. So um, I as a wound care nurse, because that's my specialty, I work with a lot of type 2 diabetic patients, um, because, one of the risk factor of diabetes is ulcers, or I don't know if you want to so I
Yeah.
see a lot of things affected by type 2 diabetes. And, I, at nursing school, they didn't teach us that much from type 2 diabetes. I would just, I thought like everybody else in the system that type 2 diabetes is a chronic disease. You take medication and you try to manage as much as you can, and that was it. I taught the patient about medication. They follow the dietitian way, but I just didn't think there was anything else we could do, and that was it. But the reason I got really interested in type 2 diabetes because my mom got diagnosed about 6, 7 years ago. And that kind of changed everything for me. I just couldn't imagine um, have my mom end up like my patients. It just hit me really hard. And when she lives in Iran, but she comes here to visit sometimes. And when she came here, I was just shocked to see, even though she was following that, she was eating just a little bit of carb, or she was doing whatever they told her to do, switching from white rice to brown rice, or switching from white bread to wheat bread. But her sugar was still, out of control. So that's when I started reading books and really getting into reading more about it and really educating myself. And I found out how much I didn't know and how much, we've been giving the wrong advice to patients and to people regarding type 2 diabetes.
That's how it goes. It's like it's just the way that it goes. It takes it happening to somebody that you really care about or someone in your family before we get educated in these things.
Exactly. And, once there was no going back for me. I just, I couldn't just stay quiet, because what happened is my mom was on medication. She was, her blood sugar was out of control. And then in 3 months, I was able to reverse her type 2 diabetes. Now, I'm not saying there's no cure for type 2 diabetes, so I'm not claiming that I can cure type 2 diabetes. But there is hope, is you can manage it with diet and, lifestyle changes. So that's a great news. There is hope for this, because you can live a long and happy life without any risk factors of type 2 diabetes. Because I don't want to get too into it, but unlike any other disease, type 2 diabetes affects every single part of your body. And I think the scary part about it is that people, you don't see it or you don't feel it for many, many years, what's happening inside your body. And then, once it happens, sometimes it's too late. Like, I have patients with amputation, with ulcers that I'm treating for 5-6 years that is just not healing. I have stories of patients just walking outside with stepping on a piece of nail and not knowing it was in their foot for a couple of days. And, just because of neuropathy or not having feelings. So it's a horrific disease. And I feel like there are so many people that are diagnosed and we don't take it seriously as we should.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, there's so much in the food that we eat, and we're kind of trained to not pay attention to that, right? To not actually pay attention to what it is that we're eating, not being really aware of what we're eating. And I mean, that conversation can spread all over, to talking about the chemicals that we're eating and the antibiotics that we're eating and the animals that we're eating. And, there's just like, you can go in all the directions with that conversation. But so people aren't aware that they can use their food as medicine, and it can make a huge difference. Yeah.
I believe in the power of food as medicine, like you said. I mean, you couldn't exactly. I mean, I'm not saying, medication is the worst thing, but, I think anything like metabolic disease, at least, try to, when you go to a doctor, they don't talk to you about diet, lifestyle changes at all. They just give you a medication and that's it. There's no education really, even about type 2 diabetes. I don't even think the doctors know about it. And, even the doctors are there, even the nutritionists are giving the wrong advice. And I see it every single day. So I think it has to be a change when it comes to, we have to admit that we've been wrong. And I said it, I have been giving the wrong advice for a long, long time. And I've been saying that on my, my social media, that I've been wrong. And, we all are wrong. So we need to do something about it.
Yeah, I think that's important. And it's true, unless it really affects you, we just don't know about these things. My brother is quadriplegic, and you just have to learn really fast. And so we'll go to places where we're in the hospital and they have no idea about how to care for him or like his level of injury, just simple things, because it's not something that they're dealing with it on the regular. And when you are dealing with it on the regular and you're trying to get educated around how to help somebody that you care about, that's like, these are the people that we need to listen to about like any type of issue, ailment, disease, are the ones who are really living with it. So
I completely agree. Yeah. I mean, I learn from my patients. I learn something new every single day from my patients. So yes, absolutely. And every single person is different. So there's no one size fit all. Everyone's different. So if one thing works for somebody, it might not work for somebody else. So it just bothers me that people, that actually don't work directly with patients, they just look at all these studies and they're like this and this and this. And, especially when it comes to type 2 diabetes, because a lot of those studies are short term, they're like 10 to 12 weeks. But I think I'm in a very unique position where as I see the patient at the beginning of their diagnosis, 20, 30 years in, 50, 60 years in. So I see what happens, and I see this story over and over and over again. And it just breaks my heart.
Well, this is why this is coming out of you now. It's because you're being exposed to it.
Yeah.
So how did you start with your own like health education?
Well, like I said, like you mean like about type 2 diabetes? Is that, you know?
No, I mean, I think that you have to come from, you have to be coming from some place where you have already an understanding of health, where you have an understanding of the body, and you have some understanding of food.
Right. So I'm obsessed with just, I'm one of those people that reads every article there is about like health and fitness. If there is something, a new diet, I want to try it. I that's my passion. Health and fitness is my passion. If I'm stressed out, I work out. That's just my thing. So I do have this kind of obsession for health and fitness. And I started my journey into my fitness journey. I want to say when I moved to LA from after I had my son, I guess. God, he's almost 14. So about 14 years ago when I joined the CrossFit, and that's how I met my husband as well. And I got so into it and I started competing. And then from there, I got into kettlebell competition, which is just, I don't know, it was like a Russian sport. So it was, and from there, weightlifting, and I got into bodybuilding just because I saw somebody and I was like, oh my God, her body is so amazing. That's the body I want. Because when you do CrossFit, you kind of become kind of bulky. I was becoming broad shoulder, and I didn't really like the way I looked. And I saw her and I'm like, what do you do? And she's like, oh, I do NPC bodybuilding. And that's how I got into bodybuilding.
I've always been into that. There's such dedication in that, though. But when you go through that and experience that and build your body and shape it and all of that from the effort, you really realize that you can kind of do whatever it is that you set your mind to with your body.
Yes. I mean, when you're trying to prep for a competition, and everything is, has to be on the schedule, especially if you work and you have a kid. So you wake up at 4 a.m. because, you can't skip the cardio. It's going to show on stage. So there's no cheating when it comes to bodybuilding. You have to be committed. You have to do the work. Otherwise, it's going to show. So I think that was one of the reasons I got so into it. I just loved the focus I had, the motivation, the commitment for that period of time. But I think we talked about that earlier. Bodybuilding is such an amazing sport, but it could go the other way if you're doing it for the wrong reason. That was in my case. I got to a point where I just kind of got obsessed. I wanted to do more shows. I didn't really let my body rest. I didn't really take care of myself. I would do show back to back. And it got to the point where I just totally messed up my body. I couldn't lose weight for one of the shows. And no matter what I did, my hormones were just all over the place. My cortisol level were high. And I remember seeing a picture of myself on a stage and just couldn't believe that was me, because I was holding so much water and I just looked bloated on stage. And I was like, okay, I need to take a break. So it took me 2 years to really heal my body and just go back and start taking care of myself. And that was a good lesson for me.
I see that a lot because I've had friends, and then I follow a lot of girls that do bodybuilding, and you see a lot of stories in there. I mean, it's for different things, but how it was unhealthy for them, or how it got like image wise, it got really unhealthy for them, and then they were doing things for the wrong reasons, and then how they like health wise, the things that they were eating and all of that was unhealthy. So we were talking about this earlier, and I was just asking about it, and is there a healthy way of doing that?
I mean, I feel like maybe some of those maybe when you like, if you don't have a body image issue and you're just doing it for love of a sport and love of working out, I think that's the healthy way maybe of doing it. But also when you do a show, then you have to really take some time to properly do a reversal. And you can just, you have to do everything so your body, because you put your body in such a stress for that whatever period of time you're prepping for 3 months, working out every day, cardio every day. So you have to take some time after to properly just, let your body rest, nourish your body, heal your body to go back. I think if you do it, you can do it right if you're doing it like that. But I think if you are getting into it just for the body image and you're just chasing after that perfect body, that's just the wrong way of doing it, because you're never going to reach that.
Well, that's always the wrong way, right? It's like all the important steps always, get skipped because the focus is something else. When you're prepping for a competition, are you building, or is it all like trim during that time?
Yeah, so normally I would build for a year, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, usually you gain weight when you're building because, you have to put on the muscle. So that was kind of hard for me because, I didn't want to put on the weight. So I think, but yes, normally you put on some weight. And then for the prep, that's the time where you're just going to try to start trimming. But also what I did, I got into like really taking all those supplements, pre-workout, post-workout, fat burner. And I think that was another reason I really messed up my body. Like it was to the point where I would wake up, but I'd be so tired. I had no energy. And it was just because my hormones were all over the place. My adrenal glands were shut. And it took me, like I had to take a 2 year off, no supplements, just everything clean, just whole food. And I never looked back. Even though I did another prep, I just stayed away from any supplement, no pre-workout, no post-workouts, no fat burners. I just did it all. The coffee was my fat burner pretty much when I was doing cardio. Because they put so much stuff in, I don't think we realize how much stuff they put in it. And the stuff they say they put in it is not really what they put in it. I think they did I saw a study, they were checking some of the GNC supplements. And most of the companies, they say they're putting that, but it's not really that. So there's no FDA approved of it. I mean, nobody goes and checks those stuff. So we have to be careful.
Wow. Yeah, I'm really sensitive to everything. So supplements and things like that. Anyway, nowadays it's hard for me to get, the right kind of protein and get protein powder and all of that. Yeah. We've talked about this before, me and my allergies with all of the new things they're putting in, like all the healthy supplements and protein powders and things like that. It's all pea protein. I'm allergic to nuts, and it's pea nut is the same protein as the pea. So because everything used to be soy, and then everyone had all this reaction to soy. So then now they've replaced soy all across the board with pea protein. So anyway, and then, what other kind of other like crap like might be in there also. I mean, that's just going back to the same thing we were saying earlier. It's hard to know what it is that you're putting in your body nowadays. Everything.
So I have a new rule for myself, since I spent so much time, healing my body. I mean, it took me literally 2 years just to feel good again in my own skin. When I'm saying feeling good, like getting enough sleep, having energy, just, that, feeling good in my skin again. So now one of my rules is that if I want to buy something, if it has more than 3 ingredients, I don't buy it. Or if I don't know one of the ingredients in it, that's just a no for me. I have been focusing on whole food ever since. And I mean, it has been life-changing for me. I feel great. I don't even take protein powders anymore, everything natural. If I want something, I'm making myself at home. Now I don't eat any sugar either. And like, I'm not saying you shouldn't eat sugar, but for my rule is that only a special occasion. Like I have a piece of cake on birthday, and honestly, when I have it, I don't even feel good after having it.
Of course, because it's not in your body, so it's going to feel terrible. Sugar is still my thing. I mean, I think I don't do as bad as maybe some other people do. I try, but I'm like, okay, I can have special occasion once a day. um,
Because
like, you know,
I feel like I shouldn't be eating because I'm telling my patients and my client not to do
yeah,
it.
yeah, of course. Okay, so what of this information transfers over to what you're sharing with your patients? So are you getting them to weightlift? Are you getting them, what are you getting them to do cardio? Are you getting them to um,
Yeah,
what
so
are you getting them to do?
so I have a Facebook group, and it's been amazing. Like I've met so many amazing people. I think so I use my mom as a guinea pig. I wish I could. I have like a stack of book. I've read every single book written about type 2 diabetes, and I was just trying different things with her, and I finally found something that worked. And then from there, I helped someone else, and that's how the business even started. It wasn't really planned. Just because I found, like, I was like, I need to share this. I mean, this is, I didn't know about it, and nobody told me, and I should tell everybody because you can do this. This is, I mean, this is amazing. My mom has never felt better. She has lost so much weight. She looks so much younger than what she did before. She's
Mm,
off all her medication.
awesome.
Yeah, so yes, I'm a huge advocate for if you want to reverse type 2 diabetes, first of all, food as medicine, like you said. Weight training. I'm a huge advocate for weight training to preventing type 2 diabetes and also just staying healthy. You don't have to, I'm not saying, go sign up for a CrossFit class or spend so much money going to a gym. You can just do something at home, like use a water bottle, anything, any movement. Um, Walking. I'm a huge advocate of walking. I think walking is so underrated. Especially when some of my patients, their blood sugar goes high and they're freaking out. I'm like, just send them for a walk. And it's just amazing what it does. It just calms your body, lowers blood sugar, is good for your soul, is good for everything, especially if you can, I mean, more power to you if you can walk in nature. But huge advocate of walking. It doesn't have to be cardio or sprint. Just old, good old fashioned walking. And I'm a huge fan of intermittent fasting. Huge.
Oh, okay. Tell us about that.
So when I was doing research for my mom to reverse her type 2 diabetes, I found Dr. Jason Fung. I don't know if anybody, he's a nephrologist. Oh my God, I can't even say. He's a kidney specialist. And he talked about intermittent fasting. Now, intermittent fasting is not nothing new. I mean, humans have been doing it for a long time, but it was something new to me, especially coming from a bodybuilding background. You're so used to eating every 2 hours. So I read his book and I followed his instruction and I put my mom on a fasting regimen, 3 times a week, 24-hour fast. And that's how I was able to reverse her type 2 diabetes so quickly. And the more I read about it, is not just, I mean, it's just so good for your body, it's good for your health, longevity. There's so many benefits to it. So I do it myself too. I do twice a year long fast, like 3 to 5 days. And I try to do, like, I don't eat breakfast anymore just because for me, I feel better. And that's one of the tools I use with my patient or clients if they want to reverse their type 2 diabetes. Now, it has to be done safely, especially if they're taking medication. So I don't want people just to jump on doing 24-hour fast. So especially if they're taking medication, it needs to be under supervision of a doctor or someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah. Um, what do you do for the fasting? I mean, you were just saying a little bit, but on a daily basis, do you do like a minimum 12-hour fast? How do you do yours?
Don't eat anything till like lunchtime. I just, breakfast was never a thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like I said, me coming from a bodybuilding background, I was so used to eating every 2 hours. I felt like I spent so much energy always thinking about when is my next food come, like, okay, what time is it I need to eat? And when I started practicing intermittent fasting, it just changed the relationship with me and the way, like with food. I felt like I wasn't just thinking about food anymore. And I think I kind of understood what being hungry actually means. So it wasn't just me being bored and wanting to grab something, or it was like, okay, it's 10 o'clock, I need to eat something. So that was kind of life changing for me. And as a matter of fact, my mom felt so good on it. And everyone I work with, that even though they reverse their type 2 diabetes, she's off the medication, she still continues to do the fasting just because it just makes her feel so good. But like I said, for me, skipping breakfast has been, I just never was like breakfast, but because everybody said you have to eat breakfast, you have to eat breakfast, I would eat it. But coffee for me, and that's it.
Do you just have it black?
I have it. Yeah.
Um, and what time do you stop eating at night?
So I have a meal around 12 or 1, and then I eat something around 4 or 5, and that's it.
12 or 1 at night?
No. Like at noon, 12 or 1 noon. That's
Yeah.
my food. And then I have dinner with the family 4 or 5 o'clock or so.
Okay. And that's it. I'm totally eat food at like 12 midnight or 1 in the morning.
I'm in bed at 8:30.
No, I'm not. I'm in school right now. I'm taking all these classes, so I do need to wake up at 9, and that's early for me because I just always have been a really late night person, and then living in LA and working at all of the diners and working the graveyard shifts and all of that, like my body is really used to going to bed late. So if I could do it how I want it now, I just want kind of the freedom to go to bed anywhere between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. I know that I should go at least by 1 a.m. for my kidneys and all of that, but still my body is happy to be awake. That's when I want to write music, and that's when I want to do my homework. Actually, it's hard for me to do my homework and get it in by midnight because that's not the time that my body wants to work on that stuff. I like to work out. I like to work out at night. I love it when I can go to my martial arts classes. They haven't been back that way since the pandemic, but before, like on Tuesday night, we'd have a class that would start at like 9. It would go from like 9 to 10, and that was just like my ideal. And then I would have all this energy to go through the rest of my night. But yeah, I mean, we all have like different circadian rhythms, right? But if my body can sleep till 10, no alarm, just wake up at 10. 10:30 if I'm tired, that's when I'm like ideal. When I have to get up, 9 is early for me. So as soon as I'm going to go on spring break next week, and so it's like I don't have to get up at 9, and that it just releases, my body is just very happy to sleep until 10, and then I can just kind of get up and.
Yeah, you should listen to your body. See,
Yeah.
Different. I was like that when I was in college, but now I wake up at 5 a.m. but I like after 8, 9. I mean, I'm out.
Well, yeah, because you're getting up at 5 a.m. What did that happen because of having kids? Like having a kid? Did that? I feel like that's what happens to my friends. They're up at 5, and I'm like.
In college, I had an 8 a.m. and I never made it. Like I would never make my 8 a.m. class. So it's amazing how, you change. Yeah, I guess. And I was a night owl like you. Like if I was doing homework or studying, like nighttime was my thing. I was more focused. I like to work out. But now things are different. I don't know. Maybe it's because of the kid. But
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure maybe he's not getting up at 5:30 in the morning anymore, but I know when they're young,
yeah.
that's what's happening. Anyway, another reason why I'm like, no kids. I'm not getting up at 5 in the morning. Not in this lifetime. Okay, so what else can we talk about? So you're working with people now one-on-one? Are you doing like group coaching programs? So something that I saw recently that kind of spurred me reaching out to you and wanting to talk about what you're doing and have this interview was that you're offering, you offer so much of this information for free. Your social media is just, education for people who have type 2 diabetes, just, all the time. And I find a lot of, resource in it just for me because of the things that you're sharing. And you're sharing about food and about what's in our food and anyway. But how are you working with people? Are you doing, sorry, I forgot what I was saying. What I was saying is that you're offering like a free class.
Yes.
And is this a free, is this like a free, tell us what about, I don't actually know the extent of what the free class is. Yeah.
Like I said, I started the Facebook group a year ago, and it has like 350 members. It's free. All the information is free. And everyone had, I learned so much from everyone in the group, and they helped me so much to learn more about type 2 diabetes. And I started picking up one-on-one clients, but I still work as a nurse, especially during COVID. I couldn't just quit my job. They need nurses, and I work with COVID patients as well. So it was hard for me to. I normally don't take more than 3 or 4 private clients, just because it's so much I need to pay attention. I pay, every day I have to check with them to make sure they're okay. But I'm doing a free master class this week. It's called Reversing Type 2 Diabetes Naturally, and I'm just going to go step by step what I do with my private clients. How I can take them from where they are and how they can reverse it. And just reversing it means that you get helping them get improve their insulin sensitivity to getting their A1C back to normal level, having their blood sugar back to normal level, but they can safely, their doctor can just get them off the medication. And it's so funny because everyone I work with, they tell the doctor, and the doctor is like, no, this is like, you can't do that. It's not, you're gonna have to be on medication forever. And then they work with me, and then in 3 months, the doctor is like, oh, well, I guess your A1C is back to normal. And, they're like, good job. But so they get them off the medication. So that's a great feeling. So that's why I'm doing it.
I mean, and that's the thing about Western medicine. There's a place for everything, but if we are trained to think that like that is the only resource for, that's the only answer, that's the only place of information. And it's like that's not my experience. It's a place of medicine, surgery. There are absolutely things that we need to go to Western medical doctors for. There's a place for that. But nutrition isn't always necessarily that. And they want you to be on medication, and that's other conversations as well. But there's a whole industry, of like, companies making money, and the health industry wants us to be on medication. And so it's great that you're doing that. It's great that you're able to share all this information with people inside of there, and that they're seeing results so quickly.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, but I think the lack of education is a problem.
Of course.
I think patients, the doctors, they don't have. I'm not saying they're doing it on purpose. Maybe I don't know, but there are some amazing doctors out there, and there's some not so amazing doctors. But they don't have enough time to educate patients. You see one patient for like 10 minutes. There's not enough time really to do anything in 10 minutes. And as I mentioned, there is no education regarding the proper diet, proper lifestyle changes, and I'm just trying to give the right information so the patients or clients can have the better conversation with the doctors as well. So I do always try to get the doctor involved. That usually doesn't go so well, especially when they say intermittent fasting. They're just like, no. So. But I always tell them when we start, I'm like, okay, so we're going to prove your doctor wrong. And we usually do. That's a good feeling.
That's awesome. So tell us what your Facebook page is called. I'm going to put all this information in the notes. But for anyone who's actually just listening to this on a podcast and they maybe want to go find your Facebook group.
Yeah, so it's just called Reverse Type 2 Diabetes Naturally. And yeah. Please, welcome. Like I said, everything is free. I'm very involved in it. We have about 350 members, and we have so many people that already been able to, you don't need a coach or a nurse. If you can do this yourself, but obviously, if you need a little help, I'm there as well to answer questions.
Is this good for people who have been warned that they're on the edge, right, of developing diabetes because of their...
Yes. The one thing that really frustrates me when I see a patient, goes, I call him patient just because I'm serious, somebody goes to a doctor and they're like, okay, you're pre-diabetic. So they tell you, okay, so you need to lose weight and come back in 3 months. That's it. The doctor doesn't write a prescription for glucometer, which is, to check your blood sugar to see where you are. It's just so frustrating because how are they supposed to even check the food they're eating to make sure that the diabetes doesn't get worse? And I really, I have so many I wrote so many things on my Instagram and Facebook, and I tell everybody, you need to invest, you need to educate yourself. about this. You need to check your blood sugar all the time to make sure the food you're eating is the right food for you. So what happened is you go to a doctor, they tell you you're pre-diabetic, and in 3 months you go and they're like, oh, okay, now you're diabetic, here's a medication. And it's something that can be avoided. Type 2 diabetes is a dietary disease, because once you change the diet, then you don't need the medication. I understand that, it's hard, because especially for me, I teach low carb and intermittent fasting. So for people, it's hard to get rid, just not eat their favorite food. But, it's better than, this is a serious disease. And once you get to the point where you have to get dialysis or you're losing your leg, it might be too late. And I think it's not worth it. It is really not worth it. And all medication is doing is mask the problem while your diabetes is getting worse. So right now in our healthcare system, all we are doing is we're just putting a Band-Aid on the problem. We're just focusing on the blood sugar, which is just masking the underlying problem of type 2 diabetes. So I see the patient maybe now, and then in a couple of months, I see them again because they have a new medication. In a couple of years, I see them again, the same patient. Now they have 3 medications plus insulin. And insulin is a fat hormone. So just giving somebody who has type 2 diabetes insulin is the worst thing, because we want the patient to lose weight, but they're giving themselves insulin and they're gaining weight. And there's no winning here. And it's just going to be downhill from there. The diabetes is just going to get worse and worse and worse. Yeah. I'm very passionate about this. So it's just something that can be avoided, and it just frustrates me so much. Especially now, everyone's getting younger and younger. I've seen people with type 2 diabetes in their 20s. Before it was like when you're 60, when you're 70, but now I see people when they're young, like as young as 20s, and even like when they're kids, 7, 8 years old.
And this is coming from, I mean, obviously there's different types of diabetes, but this is just coming from, is this hereditary, or is this just come from diet, or?
It could be running in the family, but if you change your diet, then there's a chance. It doesn't have to be. So it's not just saying that, oh, you could, just because your mom had it now, you can't do anything about it, you're gonna have it too. No, if you change your diet, if you pay attention to what you're eating, then you can avoid it. But obviously, if you have the risk factor, then you need to even be more careful. But processed food, all these things that like I said, protein powder, all this stuff is not real food. And like I was looking at the cereal box, because I don't buy cereal for my son anymore, even though he likes it. You can,
it's so bad. Yeah.
You have cereal for breakfast with a glass of orange juice. That's all sugar. And then 2 hours later you have another sugary snack, and then for lunch you have high carbs with soda, and and then you snack every 2 hours. So they just did a study at the I don't remember, I can send this study to you so I can put it in the show notes, but they did a study of 200 college students. They didn't look overweight, they look fit, but most, like about 85% of them, they were insulin resistant. So that's a big deal, because one of the underlying problems with type 2 diabetes is insulin resistance and hyperinsulinemia. So that's the beginning. So all those people in 10 or 20 years, if they're not careful, they could end up getting type 2 diabetes. And the pandemic, a lot of people, they walking around, they're pre-diabetic or diabetic, and they don't even know it. That's why COVID hit so hard, because even though they look healthy from outside, they're really not healthy inside. If that makes any sense.
Absolutely, it does. Well, I think that's one of the things that we're being made aware of, with that virus being the way that it is, and so many people not having symptoms or not. I'm not like educated enough to like totally talk about the virus, but people looking totally healthy or feeling healthy, and then actually still having
still really getting sick. And that's why a lot of people just passed away, even though they didn't have any, they were healthy, but they weren't really healthy inside. we have a lot of, they call it skinny fat. So they look skinny from outside, but there's a lot of fat inside the organs, and that's very dangerous. That's one of the metabolic diseases. Just, my mom was one of them. She wasn't overweight or anything. She had a lot of fat inside her organs, and that's very dangerous.
And how do you change that?
Well, okay, so fatty liver, that's one of the things that 75% of people that have type 2 diabetes, they have fatty liver, which happens 10 years prior to you even know you have type 2 diabetes. There's no medication for it, but intermittent fasting, again, that's one of the ways you can get rid of fatty liver.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, awesome. Thank you for sharing all of this. I'm like, okay, I got to get all the carbs out of my diet. Because learning about all of this, anyway, it's healthy for all of us.
I mean, if I could just give any advice, I would just say, focus on whole food, just whole food. If you don't know, I mean, if you see it and you don't know what it is or is in a package and you don't understand one of the ingredients in it, then it's probably not the right thing to eat for you anyways. You need to, you should care about your body so much and be careful what you put inside your body. Especially, with the pandemic, I think your immune system is not, you need to take care of your body. And then when you need it, your body going to take care of you. So, and nutrition is really important. Maybe when you're younger, you don't pay attention, but as you get older, first of all, your body can't really tolerate carbohydrates as much as it could when you're younger. Mm. And I check my blood sugar sometimes just to know where I am. I think everybody should, just to know where they are. And just pay attention to what you eat.
Do you check it with the strips?
Mm-hmm, yeah. I'm not obsessed about it, but I like to know, because like I said, as you get older, your body really can process carbohydrate as it could before. And actually, I have a couple of clients that used to be bodybuilders and now they're type 2 diabetics because they continue eating the way they were, but they stopped working out like the way they were working out, I guess. So
that's another example of what looks healthy on the outside and is not healthy on the inside. Okay, so I just have one last question for you in regards to bread. So do you not eat it at all, or are you eating?
Unless I make it at home, so I know what it is in it. So
okay.
You have a bread maker. And there's so many amazing recipes out there. So if you're for my type 2 diabetics, I tell them they can have coconut flour, they can have almond flour, just nothing wheat. We try to keep them around 30 grams of carbohydrates a day, only from above ground vegetables, because the goal here is not to manage it, is to reverse it. So we really want to heal the body from inside out. So we are very restrict about that. But there are so many recipes of making bread with almond flour, coconut flours. That's a better choice. But no, I don't buy bread anymore for the family. I just don't buy it.
All right. That's my weakness. So, okay, well, tell us the name of your website. Tell us how, for any of the listeners that want to find you, so we know about your Facebook page. But how do we find you otherwise?
So my website is bellavihealth.com. And if you guys want to reach out to me, so I can give you the link, or maybe I can give it to you for the masterclass that's coming up this week. Mm-hmm. And on Instagram, I'm at Michelle_Noureia. And, I'm here to help. If anybody has any questions, like I said, I really, truly want to help. I think there's a pandemic going on with COVID and with type 2 diabetes. And type 2 diabetes is something we can change. So that's, I feel like I'm on a mission.
Yeah, well, we each do have missions, and they get activated by different things that we go through because we're here to serve. And so we're exposed to the situation, and then we learn and become, a knowledge base. Yeah, without that passion, you wouldn't be sharing it with other people. So that's what the fire is for.
I was so scared sharing all this anyways, as a nurse, but yeah. I just couldn't stay quiet. And I'm thankful to my mom for being type 2 diabetic. Otherwise I would still be that ignorant and, just giving the wrong advice.
Well, thank you for being brave, and thank you for being on a mission to share and to help people. And I hope that anyone who's listening to this, share this, with anyone that you know that has type 2 diabetes. And, people need to know that there are that there are ways of healing to the point where you can feel healthy and you can enjoy your life. And it's, we all come to points where we have to focus on our health, and it always comes down to focusing on the food that we're eating. And so anyway, I really acknowledge you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for coming here and sharing with us all of this information. I will put the link to the masterclass that's happening on Facebook and on YouTube so that everyone can find it. And then if you're listening to this podcast in the future, I'll go ahead and link in the show notes just the way to Michelle's website and to her social media links so that you can just go and find her and see what it is that she's offering. So thank you, Michelle,
for having me. I hope this wasn't too heavy for you guys, but thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you everyone for listening, and we hope you all have a good night. Blessed be.
Bye everybody. Thank you.